Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Have you ever felt that pull? Like desire so strong it could just shatter your whole world?
Oh, yeah.
That's what those fatal flowers is all about.
I'm excited to talk about this one.
Yeah, it's a historical fantasy
Mm-hmm.
by Shannon Ives.
Yes.
Love, betrayal, and freedom, all set in 1588 in the Roanoke colony. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Oh, and there's an Amazon link in the description if you want to check out the book. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. Those Fatal Flowers is it's more than just a good read. It really makes you think about how the choices we make really shape our destiny, you know?
It really does.
And Ives, she's done such a great job of blending Greek mythology with the Roanoke mystery.
Right.
It's like sirens and columnists battling it out.
Yeah, it's this whole world where sirens and colonists collide. So the story focuses on Thelia.
Yes.
She's a siren who's been exiled for centuries on this desolate island called Scopuli. And Ives doesn't just throw us into this world, you know what I mean?
Right.
She kind of like eases us in. We learned about Thelia and her sisters back in ancient Greece, how they were close with the goddesses, especially Proserpina.
The goddess of spring. And that's where it gets really interesting. Ives uses all that mythology to show us Thelia's inner turmoil.
Right.
Because Thelia, she isn't just some monster. She's a complex character dealing with guilt. She blames herself for Proserpina's capture by Hades.
The god of the underworld.
Exactly. And that's why she looks the way she does.
Part woman, part bird of prey.
It's like a physical representation of her guilt.
Yeah. It's a cool take on those old myths, right?
Mm-hmm.
About like women scorned turning into these vengeful creatures, but with a twist.
A sympathetic twist.
Like it's not just a curse, it's more like this reflection of her inner struggles.
Exactly. And that's where the whole fate versus free will thing comes in. I mean, Thelia is trapped by her past choices she made for love that led to her exile and, well, her transformation. But even with all that, she's constantly trying to break free. She wants to change her destiny.
Okay, so the story jumps between Scopuli, like before and then now in 1588 Roanoke. We see Thelia and her sisters just trying to survive on this desolate island.
Right.
And they use their song to lure sailors to their deaths, which is, yeah, dark and brutal.
Yeah.
But it raises some thought-provoking questions about, like, power and survival. What do you think?
It is. The siren song itself, it's not just some magical trick. It's more like a symbol, for how powerful and dangerous desire can be. Like, it makes you think about how easily we get pulled in by beauty, by promises, by all these things that can really mess us up.
It's like weaponized art,
Totally.
But there's beauty in it, too. It's haunting. It reminds me of, like, certain types of music today
Yeah.
that have that powerful effect on people. Like, they can really manipulate you.
That is a great point. It shows how Ives takes these old myths and makes them totally relatable, even today.
It's true. We may not have literal sirens luring us to our death, but there are so many temptations and messages out there that are just as dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
So on Scopuli, Feely gets a glimmer of hope. Proserpina tells her she can break the curse if she finds a husband,
A husband.
which leads her to the struggling colony of Roanoke.
In 1588.
Exactly. Ice does such a fantastic job of creating this vivid picture of the colony, like the claustrophobia, the fear, the tension between all the colonists.
Right.
It's like the colony itself becomes a character.
And it feels even more real because she uses all these historical details like Agnes Bailey's fear of the Spanish, the harsh conditions, the whole mystery of the colony disappearing.
Right. It's like even in this fantastical world, those real-world anxieties and power struggles, they're still there.
Exactly.
So Thelia arrives in this uncertain, desperate place, with this mission to find a husband and break the curse. But then she meets Cora Waters.
And she looks exactly like Proserpina.
Talk about complicated.
Yeah.
It's like Thelia's being pulled back into the cycle she's trying to escape.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is, will her love for Cora just lead to another tragedy?
It's a great setup.
On Scopuli, we see Thelia and her sisters stuck in this brutal routine of survival, using their song as a weapon. But there's this one moment when a ship carrying women is wrecked on the island.
Oh, right. And they decide to bury the women.
Yeah, they give them respect, a proper burial.
It's so different from how they treat the sailors. It really tells you a lot about their own experiences.
Like they've been wronged.
As women.
Exactly. Trapped in this monstrous form.
Yeah, it's like a tiny spark of humanity in all that darkness.
Right. It makes you think about their image as monsters.
You see a different side.
It's more complex than that.
And then there's Jacquab.
Yes. A sailor who washes ashore on this small island near Scopuli.
Injured and alone.
And instead of sacrificing him like usual, Thelia decides to help him.
It's a huge risk. She's breaking all the rules.
It's like she sees Jacquab as a chance to break free from all that violence.
It really shows a different side of her. She becomes his caretaker, and there's this weird kind of intimacy that develops.
But it's fragile, right?
Oh yeah, they both have secrets. They're both hiding things.
Jacob's terrified of her true nature.
And she's afraid of what her sisters will do if they find out.
It makes you wonder, can real connection even exist in a world that's all about fear and survival?
It's a good question.
And remember, this is just on Scopuli. We haven't even touched on the drama in Roanoke. I'm already hooked. Especially with parallels between Thelia and Jacquard and Thelia's feelings for Cora. It's like Ives is showing us that even in the middle of chaos and darkness, people still crave connection and love.
Exactly. And as we dig deeper, we'll see how these relationships change Thelia, how they challenge her, and ultimately how they shape her destiny.
Okay, so let's move on over to Roanoke now and dive into one of the most interesting parts of the book, I think. The whole competition thing.
Oh, yeah.
To win Thelia's hand in marriage.
It's intense.
Yeah, and Ives uses it really well to show the power dynamics and the pressure in the colony.
Yeah, it's brutal. Like, the men have to knock each other down.
3 times to win. It's almost like animalistic, this display of aggression.
And Thelia has to just watch this whole thing, knowing that the winner's basically being sent to their death.
Right. Back on Scopuli.
Exactly. It makes you think, like, who's really being sacrificed here? The men fighting for her, or Thelia herself? Because she's kind of manipulating them just to survive?
It's like Ives is showing us the dark side of the colony under this thin layer of, civility. And it's not even just about physical power.
No, it's about control.
Exactly. So speaking of control.
Agnes Bealey.
Yes. Agnes is such a fascinating character.
She's complicated.
So complicated. She's like the poster child for hypocrisy and corruption in the colony's leadership.
She's obsessed with keeping things in order, suppressing anyone who disagrees with her, terrified of the Spanish, of the unknown, anything that could disrupt the colony.
Right.
And her fear makes her control everyone around her, especially Thelia, who she sees as a threat.
It's interesting, though, because, in a way, her fear is kind of similar to Thelia's struggle with being a monster. They're both trapped, just in different ways.
Oh, that's a good point. Agnes is trapped by her anxieties and Thelia by the curse.
Right.
It knows how fear can, manifest in different ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder if it's really Agnes in charge in Roanoke, or if it's something darker hiding in the shadows.
Ooh, that's creepy. And then there's Thomas, Agnes's son. He just adds another layer of messed up to everything.
He's arrogant, he's entitled, he's violent.
And his thing for Thelia is so disturbing.
Yeah, Thomas represents that toxic masculinity in the colony. He sees Thelia as this prize, something he can own, completely ignoring how she feels.
Right. And it's obvious from the start that he's dangerous. You just know something bad's going to happen.
The tension is real. And then you have Thelia and Cora.
Their relationship is so delicate, full of longing and secrets. Cora's attracted to her, but also scared of her.
Sensing her power.
Yeah, it's this forbidden attraction made even riskier by, the rules of the time. And Thelia, she's still haunted by her past.
Terrified of hurting Cora, of repeating the cycle.
Exactly. But their relationship shows that love can survive even against impossible odds. You can find connection and intimacy in the most unexpected places, even in all the chaos and darkness.
It's beautiful and heartbreaking. And then you have Roanoke itself.
Right. It's more than just a setting.
It's a character. Ives is amazing at capturing how claustrophobic and isolated it is, the harsh conditions, the constant threat. It represents this feeling of being trapped.
The way she describes it, it's so vivid. You can practically feel the cold, the dampness, the fear.
And as the story goes on, the tension keeps building. The colonists are barely surviving. Anxieties are running high.
And then there's this fear of the unknown, the whispers of witchcraft.
Creating paranoia and mistrust.
Yeah. Agnes gets even more desperate to hold on to control. Thomas gets more and more unpredictable.
Driven by jealousy. And then winter hits.
Making everything worse. Food's running low, the cold's brutal, everyone's desperate.
And that's when it happens. Will, Cora's brother, he wins the competition.
It's such a bittersweet moment. For Will, it's his chance to prove himself, to win Thelia over. But for Thelia and Cora, it's a disaster.
They know he's going to die. And they can't stop it.
And for Thomas,
it's the final straw. He completely loses it. His jealousy and rage set off a chain reaction that's going to affect the entire colony.
This is where things get really dark.
The tension explodes, and Thelia has to face the consequences of her choices.
It's a turning point for her. It breaks down her illusions, pushes her to the limit, and we see her strength, her love, and her desire for revenge.
And then they find Will.
Murdered.
By Thomas. It just destroys any hope Thelia had of finding peace in Roanoke. It shows her that, she can't outrun the darkness in her and in the colony.
Yeah, like the line between monster and human, it get given blurrier. Thelia, this creature who's been pushed aside and feared, she sees real human cruelty.
Exactly. And it awakens this need for vengeance in her, this need to protect Cora. It's not just about breaking the curse anymore. She has to make Thomas pay.
And then we get that chilling scene, the confrontation with Agnes.
Oh, yeah. Agnes is in bed, hurt after fighting Bahamas.
And Thelia sees her chance.
It's powerful. Thelia finally confronts the woman who's been using her, who represents everything wrong with the colony's leaders.
Yeah.
But it's also a turning point. When Thelia takes revenge on Agnes, she really embraces that monster inside her, like fully embraces it.
It's like everything she's held back, the pain, the anger, centuries of being called a monster, it all comes out.
And it leads us to the final showdown, Thelia and Thomas, on the Endurance, the ship that's supposed to take them to Scopuli.
Ives uses the setting so well it reflects what's happening. There's this huge storm, it could wreck the ship, just like the destruction that Thomas and Thelia's fight is causing.
Yeah, the whole environment mirrors the violence and chaos. It feels so claustrophobic, like they're trapped.
Right. And Thelia, she tries to take back control using her song. But it's a huge risk. Some of the colonists, they know how dangerous it is.
Yeah, they've tried to protect themselves. It shows that even in this world with magic and sirens and everything, humans can still find a way to fight back.
Right. And then the fight, Thelia and Thomas, it's thrilling and terrifying.
They're both filled with so much rage, this need for revenge. Thelia uses everything, her talent, her strength.
It's brutal. No holding back. And in the end, she takes him up into the sky. Away from the ship, the other colonists, we don't see what happens next.
Wait, she's not the same.
Right.
She might have gotten her revenge, but it cost her everything. Tora, her sisters, maybe even part of her humanity.
Yeah. The ending is so powerful. You feel satisfied, but sad too. And a little bit disturbed.
Yeah, it makes you think about how violence just keeps repeating itself. Even the people who are hurt, they can become consumed by the darkness.
Those fatal flowers really makes you think about the choices we make, the paths we take, and how our actions affect the world. What did you think? Share your favorite moment in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to share it and subscribe for more.